Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the tragedy of Fidelia and Glausamond, or is that Glausamond and Fidelia? It does partly depend on which version of the text you're looking at. We are looking at the earliest iteration of this version of the story, as written by John Newdigate III. For those playing along at home, we are going from the Warwickshire manuscript rather than the one from the British Library. We will come to the British Library one in the future. So this, like anything based on a manuscript, is a bit messy. That I have made some decisions to make it bounce along reasonably well, but you may come across sentences that don't quite work, and they may be authentic errors or ones that I've accidentally put into the script. But yes, we have irritatingly quite a wide dating range for this, any time between 1617 and 1642. So it's a narrow range. It's a narrow range. But somewhere around Wiggins certainly gives us somewhere around 1624 as a sort of intermediate date. But it's complicated by the fact there are three slightly different versions of this play. Only two of which are substantially different. But if you've seen us do Tancred in Gismunda or Gismund of Salerne, then you'll know what the story is. It's a cheerful, happy one, and we're going to go through this variation on it today. So reading today, the King is.
Oh, hello.
Reading the Princess, Fidelia is.
Hi, Desna Lancaster.
Reading the Prologue, Gentleman Number 1, and Epilogue is.
I'm wondering, it's Greg, and I'm wondering if there are any strange aromas or secret hiding places.
We shall see. Reading Glausamond today is.
Hi, I'm Eric. I don't know. I don't think there are stranger rumors. There are probably a pile of blood at the end of this. I don't think that's a spoiler. It's a tragedy, so yeah.
There's going to be blood somewhere. There's always blood. Reading Gentleman Number 2 and Guard Number 2 is.
Liza Graham. We try harder. We have to. We're number 2.
That's so silly.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and the random people who are in the play: Usher, Woman, Lieutenant, and Guard Number 1. But without further ado, we're going to dive into the prologue, and we'll probably dive straight through the first act in relatively quick succession. So, prologue away, please.
That is a happy muse which can content all kind of audience, but our intent goes not so far, nor is so general. He is a fool that striveth to please all. We should defy these squeamish lookers on that say 'tis the sin to express a passion. For the author one night sat up very late, in that fit himself was passionate, which forced him make the play not disagreeing to his own humour. If any here, by seeing a scene or two presented, to say, this is a scurvy or ill-lettered play, we will forgive him. 'Tis a shame to spend one word on him that is blind folly's friend. When you have seen it, at your strictest hands, tell how your favour and our fortune stands.
And Act 1, enter 2 gentlemen.
Oh, methinks the princess troubled it of late, as if she took some grief or thought at least. Her visage speaks as much. For now 'tis pale, lean, and grown thin, which used to be so plump, and full of beauteous red, that each man's eye did forsook all other objects to view her. Some greater thing it is that troubles her than our thick sense can reach to understand. Heaven give her comfort. Trust me, 'tis pity she should be a concave to hold miseries.
Alas, we see that women of her age, especially great ladies, do ofttimes grieve, yet will not show the causes of their woe, except in private, and but to one at once. Women's diseases still are better cured when they have but one surgeon, than if many physicians should administer. Those maladies that breed when none are by ought to have medicines laid to privately.
not with her harmless goodness. I'll be bound her spotless breast, and it did never harbour in it a thought that was not white as innocence. Yea, chaste as turtle's pureness, besides her birth makes us to scorn the vanities of earth.
Then surely she's no woman. A man may be perhaps half good by chance, and 'tis a miracle. Few come to such perfection. But for women to be so wholly virtuous, as to despise those things the sex most joys in, seems to me an oblique accident, yea, a prodigy. Take this from me, similitude ne'er was more fit than twixt a woman and a glass.
By the time's corruption, young folks be drawn to run by paths course, and few or none without some swerving to attain the end, they're born to aim. Yet do not you tax those we are bound to honour with levity. The daughter of our king all tongues do praise, because she is the wonder of days.
All's one for that. She's but a woman, and in being so, she cannot, though on cork heels, upright go.
Say not so. Take a lower theme. Let your words of all offence be free, so doing you'll not hurt yourself or me.
Nay, I ha' done. I'll be as wise as you. Never may I want sack and sugar till the blood of great ones I do seek to spill.
Wish hurts no man, neither do I think that then that thou wilt e'er be traitor but to drink.
Not I, as I love it, or it loves me. 'Gainst sack, nutmeg, and sugar I'll conspire. First drink some raw, then set more by the fire, then hot again, and swallow a whole quart, all at a gulp to content my poor heart. And thus I find for my grave constitution a pleasing and most wholesome composition.
Noises off.
It says you love me. I hear the noise of the coach. The king or princess straightway will approach. Let's walk until they come.
Ah, they're here already. Oh, 'tis the princess.
Enter the princess and her woman to them.
Did you not see my father here of late?
No, madam, yet we do expect him here.
And by his appointment stayed to give notice to him as soon as you should come. May it please you, I'll advertise him.
Pray do. In the meantime, I'll repose myself.
Exeunt the two gentlemen.
Wench, set a chair. I'll sit down here a while. 'Tis something to be the daughter of a king. Nay, 'tis a greatness which one of 1,000 doth not reach to. With thankfulness I praise the fates for my advancement, and adore those powers that made a worthless maid have worth. I do confess the title that I bear is far above the most of my weak sex, and the allowance the king is pleased to give to maintain me is more than I could wish. Likewise the observance of the noble peers unto my person is as much as could be showed if that I were a complete queen. Thus far I'm perfect in an earthly bliss. Until the king come, I will think on this.
Enter the king and one before him, and then those two that went out, i.e. the enter a gentleman Usher and the two gentlemen who were just here. Make room for the king there.
Fair daughter, your obedience to my will and due attendance of my pleasure here yields me more joy than if the Indian's treasures were sent to me by my New Year gift. But I am richer far than he that hath those gems, because I have thee to enjoy that wealth fortune bestoweth on me, and the greatest care that now disturbs me is to find one that deserves thy fortune and thyself. Thy years of ripeness now grow on apace, at which I wish thou shouldst a consort have, fit for thyself and me. First fit for thee, because thou art like the longest to enjoy him, then fit for me, that by the observance he shall show unto my age, I may desire to make him master of what I command. I thought good thus much to acquaint you with, and to entreat you to inform me how you stand affected.
Truly, royal sir, I think it fit for children to obey those they are bound to serve, and this obedience I prostrate unto you, and wish you please yourself and me, then you shall not disease.
Thou art fair and good, dear girl, and so I may rightly call thee. How happy is that father that enjoys such a daughter! Many men have children born fair, and in their infant days they reap some comfort when they see them play. But when their youth grows on, and that their years give them the name of young folks, then oft times they grow so wilful they'll not be commanded. And seldom 'tis when that the parents can rule their first son until he be a man. Experience daily shows some young men live not like themselves, but just like sensual things, neither esteeming nor at all respecting aught but their own delights. And this it makes so many overthrow themselves and drown their fortunes in a gulf of sin. Yea, this it is that makes a man at arms subject himself unto a woman's will, and this it is that I may say no more, that makes them beggars that were great before. But to leave this stale theme to those that can better declaim upon these common ills, I'll to my first intent. Daughter, I joy to see you thus prone to do what I think may be most for your good. I'll do my best to make choice of a man that may have worth, to enjoy the flower and beauty of your youth. And to this purpose will my whole life spend, so to gain you a husband, me a friend.
Exit the king and attendants.
'Tis well said, father, and as well held in by me that I am surcharged with what you know not. Shall I conceal myself even from myself? Myself knows what I mean. Wench, go your way, and in my chamber wait my coming back, and I'll presently come to you.
Exit woman.
What? Shall I speak? Still to be silent profits not at all, and here I'm private as the silent night. Speak out, brave heart. Thy words cannot do hurt, and 'tis some ease to speak those sorrows out, which being bit in do make a palpitation of the most vital part. It pleases much but to repeat the name we do most love. I love thee, Glausamond, and though the king think I am free and fit for any suitor, yet love commands me more than the king, and then the king nor yet himself not knows it. Yet certainly 'tis Glausamond or none can melt my heart as wax, or make it to stone.
Exit princess. End of act. Okay, I've got lots of thoughts about this, because on the surface level, when you come in, you just have these sort of people regurgitating the patriarchy at you, just go, oh, these women, and you're not quite sure where to place these two gentlemen as well, because one of them's a bit sillier than the others, but they're both playing with these tropes. And the king comes in, and on a surface level, the king's got a fairly reasonable point of view. I mean, but they've all swallowed the patriarchy whole, or so it seems, and that's what Fidelia says, the princess says, yes, Dad, yeah, absolutely, yes, sir, no, sir. And then everybody goes away, and we get this. And it's flip-flopping around in different ways, but because there's part of me just going, oh, God, no, when we started reading it. But actually now I've sort of got to this point, I'm going, oh, is this this actually is doing something slightly... potentially doing something interesting. I'm not saying it is doing something interesting, but there's potential here about what this thing is doing that I'm pleased about. I think, Eric, you were saying in the chat, oh God, not another patient Griselle.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those where it's like, yes, I will obey my husband, or I will obey my father, and it's like, yeah, I think we've had one too many of those. So it would be nice to not have to deal with that. But I mean, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Especially if he approves, like if the king approves of Glausamond, because like we don't know his opinion of Glausamond at the moment. We just know that he's going to go out and find her a husband or something. One that is fortunate and fit for her fortunes, or whatever the phrasing was.
Yes, because on a surface level, everything the king says is perfectly reasonable. I'd like to find you a good husband. Someone who can be my friend. But within a context of all this sort of very toxic patriarchal from everybody, you're sort of going, okay, actually, how reasonable is what he's saying? It seems reasonable, but actually, is it really? Not really, because there's not an awful lot of agency or choice from her point of view. And so I'm interested on that counterpoint, and also just what these two gentlemen are doing at the beginning, and stuff. Thoughts on the room? I'm wittering a bit. I'll go to Greg, then Desna.
I was just going to say, just going back very, very start, I love the prologue. I love the inversion of the usual sort of, and I've got to be very careful how I say this, the call to the audience to show their appreciation was nice, and it was interesting to hear it at the start. It was almost like we know what you're going to think. In a slightly weird way, but yeah, the first gentleman seemed the straight man, at least for now. With the gentleman too being a little more zany, but yeah, it feels right now. It feels saner than the other versions we read, because I suppose we haven't had we we haven't had Cupid deciding to cause havoc for a start.
No, it doesn't seem to have an extra supernatural element to this at all. It all seems quite grounded. I do like the idea that the author, just in the middle of the night, I had to write. My muse spoke to me, and I had to obey. And I wrote it for myself, not for you.
It also begs question of was it ever performed? Was it as a sort of chamber piece for as we've read other plays where they've been written for personal enjoyment, if you like, rather than anything else. But yeah, really interesting. I love it.
Desna.
Yeah, so the prologue I thought was really interesting in that it actually gives us a clue that the princess has a secret before that first scene with the king where she's just, yes, sir. And I was, and it was kind of only at the end as we got to her revealing when she gets to speak on her own privately with herself, really, that I was like, oh, that's why she's kind of looking pale and she's obviously pining. But it was interesting that it was presented that way around because she's so compliant in that scene with the king, her father. So yeah, interested to see where it'll go.
Any other thoughts on Act 1? Eric?
I do like how it doesn't do the whole thing of sort of like these long neoclassical speeches where, I mean, like, okay, I love the neoclassical element from the other versions of the play that we've done, but it doesn't have the whole sort of, it's a very different vibe, I feel, if to put it in modern terms. You don't have the sort of dramatic back and forth of like, daughter, you have to obey your. I think in other versions as well, like it was the princess had aka Gismond was married, if I remember correctly, and then pining after her dead husband. So yeah, it was kind of, you have to marry like someone to be appropriate, sort of. I don't know. It's interesting. Thus far.
You all know this play much better than me. As far as I'm concerned, I think he's talking absolute sense. The king, very important to like your son-in-law. I've got a fabulous one. Makes all the difference in life.
Oh well, I mean, to be fair, you're biased. You would be team king, wouldn't you? I mean, you've always got to be on the side of your own part.
Yeah, I find it very hard not to be on the side of any character, however evil.
Okay, let's see where we go. I mean, King's perfectly reasonable within his point of view. Act 2, we're inferring that it has an act structure because there are music cues between the acts. Music, enter King and Glausamond with the two gentlemen.
Being about so great a business, I thought I could not choose a fitter man to employ than you. Kings that desire to be happy in what they undertake must choose such as thou art, to send of embassies. The happiness and welfare of a state is propagated much when trusty men do most command and manage business, but not to hold you with more circumstance, the matter's thus. My hairs being now grown white, and one of my feet already in the grave, I do desire, before I die, to find a man whose worth might seem to me so great as to deserve my daughter for his bride. Fame speaks such good of a prince in the eastern world, good Glausamond. If such a man be there be, bestow thy utmost pains to find him out.
Since you are pleased, great king, thus far to make me partner of your secrets, suffer me, sir, to proffer my advice, which yet I know your wisdom needs not, and though it may seem boldness not to be pardoned, that my weakness should go about to instruct your undertakings, yet bound and much engaged to you and her, in loyalty to you and zeal to her, I shall presume, if you will give me leave, to speak what I conceive.
With us free leave, I do permit thee speech. As ever king did to his counsel here, or patience led, speak out, I hear thee gladly.
Let not the rough expression of my mind blemish the duty I do bear to you, nor let my tongue that stammers as it moves weaken the strength of zeal I do owe her. Duty and zeal, zeal and duty both makes a tongue speak, which else would have been loath and fearful to press on your greatness thus. Methinks, if it might like your majesty, you might receive more comfort in a son, whose country's bounds to border upon yours, or if there be none such whose pedigree in greatness can match yours, nor yet whose worth in all points parallel your daughter's state, 'twere not amiss, in my conceit, if you and my admired princess think fit to elect one of the noblest of those peers your own realm can afford. So you may have a subject, a friend, a servant, and a son, all in a man. And the most honored princess in the world, your most endeared daughter, enjoy a husband whose observance may be all his life as on his wedding day.
To match with one of them of my own kingdom were to disparage the stock my daughter came of. None equals her in dignity or birth. Nor is there any man within the bounds of those large countries which my power commands fit to make her a husband. There must be state and princely blood in him that is her mate.
You need not care for that. In her sweet veins streams royal blood enough to make him great. Shall be your son-in-law. And howsoever your majesty may think it may disparage such a great lady as your daughter is, to cast a favoring look for her quick eyes by way of love on any man within the compass of your large dominion's limits, yet you perhaps more true content may take in a man whom your favors doth make great, than in a prince whose too lofty mind may happily make him swell so high that he will scorn his wife, you, and your dignity. Moreover, he will rob you of your joy, take your best comfort from you, and transport her into countries you perhaps ne'er heard of. And who can tell, when she's so far from you, whether the eyes of all your subjects, which do look on her as if the sun were rising, shall e'er be blessed with seeing her again. Weigh your own good and theirs, and you shall find a word is weighty from a troubled mind.
I make no doubt, my trusty Glausamond, but that the man who shall have the fruition of my child's love will subject his desires so to my will and pleasure that he'll be glad to frame his whole endeavours to obey all the injunctions of my princely will. I'll win him from his native soil by gifts that shall be worthy of a king's acceptance. Yea, with such gifts as the universe cannot exceed. First, he shall have a wife equal in goodness to the greatest queen, sucks air on earth. And next, her parentage, no man dare say, by matches any queen that is the world at this time now apparent. And her beauty, 'tis fit for him and not for me to praise. Her portion shall be wealthy kingdom. These are his first night's junkets, and if none of these will make him an observant son, I'll win him by my love, and that will be I'll bond him with my love that will be a bond to link us both in amity. The loftiest ship I have is fully rigged and furnished with skilful mariners. Both it and thy shall be my servitors. And when thou comest again with happy news, the pieces in the ship shall ring a peal to honour thee and praise the common weal. Go, and the fates that do protect good men keep thee still safe and bring thee back again.
Exit the king.
I had at least been sent to Cerberus to bid him open thus the gates of hell, that I might fetch Proserpina out of Pluto's lap. 'Tis as possible, though perhaps this king thinks I may easily do it, and that I will be most prone to perfect his commands. There is a goddess greater than a king, and yet inferior to him in her judgments, that values gold as clay, which makes me loath to undertake this voyage. And though there be no man acquainted with this secret, yet I remain most confident that she will show me some more favour than a princess doth commonly deign to her father's subjects. The last night, when I went to attend the king to lay my service down before thee, in the presence as I went, the princess stood, attended with those stars that light the court, but her brave lustre did as far exceed their meaner beauties in serenity, as doth the shining of fair Phoebus' rays eclipse the fire upon a blacksmith's forge. But I'll give o'er the praise that admired dame, for fear my weakness should disparage her. Just as I passed by unto the king, my knees and heart being bowed to her at once, as from a lucky oracle, she sent words that did to me bring something is cut, intent possibly, yet comfort, else I durst not have heard them. And thus they were: Lord Glausamond, I'm sorry the services that thou so oft hast showed, both to the king and me, should be rewarded with a long tedious journey, little better, if I may term it so, than a sad exile. Were I the king, I'd send some men that were good for no other purpose, whose grey heads by their grave counsels know how to ordain what may be done in all occurrences. Such lords as these can better far endure the boisterous tempests on the troubled seas than thy soft limbs for other uses. Farewell, dear lord. I wish thy business may cause thy return ere thou hast gone halfway. Such words as these methought were ominous, and either do portend some good or ill to my unworthiness. She spake with such a smile, and yet a solemn look, as might become virtue herself, if she did live on earth. Well-tempered greatness and alacrity mixed both together made the lookers-on swear she was free from any passion. But I, that was the man whose earnest heart sought satisfaction, what her meaning was, did presently conceive. She wished some good, yea, good that I called love to my poor self. To this hour remain in that belief. I will put off my journey for a while, by feigned sickness or some other guile, and by all means I can, I'll seek the love of my dear princess, which I prize above the favour of the king. If she say stay, I will not go, although the king next day destine my execution. Her word shall make me a free man forever thrall.
And exit Glausamond. There's some really interesting things about this, because the king says, "I'm going to send you to go off and find my daughter, some far off prince," and Glausamond goes, "Well, let me talk you through this idea I've got, that maybe you should look closer to home." And there's something really hesitant about the way he says that, and the way he's sort of thinking his way through, how do I get the king to be on my side without saying the thing. But the play hasn't told us the thing yet. That happens at the end of the act, and I really like that. Because it could just be he's perfectly written, yeah, I I'm really engaging with this, actually. It started off in a way I was going, I'm not sure about this. But he seems really nicely, and he's just trying to persuade the king without telling him why, as Eric was just doing just now. Big sign over his head saying, pick me. And of course, in a sense, he's exactly what the king is looking for, someone he trusts, etc. It's just the king is also looking for someone of royal blood and a worthy match for his daughter. And he's perhaps just not good enough. You've looked at his asset portfolio, and he's not quite got what a king needs.
I love the ship. I want to get on the ship. He's offering an adventure. It's a boy's adventure basically with the princess second down the line from the adventure, don't you think, Desna?
Sorry, say that again.
Well, the ship and the bells and the bells and whistles and the boysy stuff. Go off and find a really nice multi-banker in South America. This is really exciting. I'm beginning to think he's more excited in that than his own daughter's happiness.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Liza.
Well, I mean, Glausamond also seems to be making the sounder policy choice, as well as, of course, the better romantic choice, since the princess actually loves him.
He thinks she loves him. He hasn't been explicitly told this yet.
Yes. So, I mean, the king says one of his reasons for wanting his daughter married off is that he's getting old. And surely he realizes, I'm assuming that Fidelia is the sole heir or heiress. And so her husband is going to be king of this country. And seeking out a total stranger to do that, as Glausamond points out, someone who lives far away and has never been here and knows nothing about us. The king, I guess, is making a choice based on perceived prestige and the perhaps faulty assumption that, yes, go just fetch me a monarch and I'm sure he'll do everything I want and continue doing that after I'm dead. Great plan. Yeah. Yes.
Eric.
Well, I guess to defend the king for a second, it would make sense in that sort of a prince slash, the son of a monarch would have the training, as in they're taught to govern. They would have been taught to govern and rule and stuff, whereas a lord I assume, a lord like Glausamond would just be doing okay, he's trustworthy, obviously, and clearly handsome, blah blah blah, good looking, soft limbs, etc. But he wouldn't be versed in not the minutiae of government, but the sort of how to make the big decisions, sort of. But I don't know. I like his language, just sort of, just the way he speaks, sort of. I hope she likes me because she said this to me. It's sort of evidence-based and all that stuff.
It's not, he's not presuming. He's not going, I love her, she must be mine, or whatever. He's going, I just really hope that I was not getting mixed signals, and that when she was looking me in the eye and saying she didn't want me to go, that she meant it. And that's really genuine and nice, and I believe it as well. I believe that's how that relationship might come about. Sue,
where are we? We're not in Italy anymore. I'm having a trauma. Are we in sort of Norway or something? I mean, that Glausamond. I've suddenly realised. Are we not? Are we in Norse country?
I don't think. I think it's based on an Italian story. I don't know technically
where
it's set. I don't think they're being too precise. The playwright is being too precise where this play world is. I don't think we had any real indicators. Did we catch it? Did anyone catch anything? Don't think so.
Important to me. Different sort of king up there.
Well, let's gather some more data as we go into what we're calling Act 3. Music
Right.
to separate the acts. Enter the king, 2 gentlemen, and the princess waiting woman.
Is the wench there?
And it please your majesty should not entreat the service you'll command her.
She may receive with speed, for she did leave the princess very solemn in her chamber, and doth desire so soon as possible to make return unto her excellency.
Wench, is not your mistress well?
And please your grace, she looks but pale, but seems but somewhat dumpish.
What company hath been with her of late?
None that I know of, but Lord Glausamond, who came to take his leave and know her pleasure before he went his journey.
Leave us, wench, and tell the mistress I will shortly come myself to visit her. In the meantime, let her send for my own physician.
Exit waiting
And
woman.
what heir or art or money can procure her, while I live, she shall not want.
And like your grace, nor art nor money can cure some diseases that young women are troubled with, except the artist or physician be of their own election.
You are a knave.
My liege, he ever was so, and here this hour an incorrigible rascal.
And your majesty will give me leave to ask a foolish question.
With all my heart, though ne'er didst yet ask wise one.
Well, as very a fool as I am, I think I can tell more than you and all your council. Her woman said she looked pale. Can you tell me the reason on't now by philosophy?
Not I, as I wish comfort by her. I never gave her any cause to grieve, nor ever heard of accident that may breed the least trouble to her quiet thoughts.
She were mad enough to let you know what makes her look pale.
Why so, prithee?
It's wonder your majesty will suffer such a saucy, presumptuous malapert trouble you with the superfluous froth of his brain. As I am a gent, he offers you much propaganity.
But prithee, Jack, if thy philosophy be more discerning than my judgment is, and if thy wit can any way inform me of this secret, which as yet lies hid, do but unfold it, and I'll promise thee to grant the next demand that thou shalt ask.
Why, if you needs will have it, I'll answer you with a question, and that's much for a fool to do, you'll say. I beseech your highness, is there not one Glausamond about the court?
This is one of thy questions?
Aye, that's true.
Thou knowst him well enough. What if he be?
Nay, nothing. But if there be such a one, I wish that you were as young as he is, and he were as old as you are, and that you had a wife as young as the princess, then you might get boys as big as I am. And that the princess had a husband, and that Glausamond, if he were as old as you are, were married to Mistress Tattle the midwife, and then according to the old proverb he would be fitted with age and wedlock, and if those would do no good of him, you should be sure that the next great frost he would be tamed, for age, winter, and wedlock especially, they say, put all together, tame man and beast.
This is well fabled. Now, if I could moralize, I should esteem myself a most wise man.
Alas, sir, it's 10 to 1, but he that gave you the fable can give you half a dozen morals and never a one opportunity. But if your majesty did but see him drink when you were asleep, as I do, I warrant you.
I said, goodman fool, how can a man see another drink when he's asleep?
Nay, but I say, if you did but see him drink, when you are fast asleep in your bed, you would take an order with him.
Do you but mark the wit of the beast?
Ay, but sirrah, saving the king's reverence, I mean, if your grace did but know.
No, that's somewhat like now what a company of Totterdemonian knights of the Black Pot he hath of late installed, he would.
Away, you fool, abuse installed.
How he styles himself Sir John Sipsack, and in the drunken fits kicks all the world, spurns at authority and thinks no monies, half so good as his loftiness, and in these veins he'll pen such a fustian bombast as I think your majesty ne'er read. If I be not deceived, I have a gratulatory letter about me at this instant, which he sent me in thankfulness for a breakfast of sack ale and beer I bestowed upon him.
Gentleman 2 moves away.
Nay, if his grace will give me leave, I will read. Commendations celestial.
Now, unfortunately, the script doesn't give us the full letter. It will refer to elements of the letter later on, so we may later on be able to infer what the letter says. But he's read a letter.
For this time, prithee, let us much suffice, and when I have a mind of the second part, I'll let thee know. Meanwhile, go thou to the fort and see if Glausamond be yet come thither. If he be not, make haste unto his lodging, tell him his business doth require more haste than he thinks on, and if he be unwilling to undertake the journey, bring me word.
I shall.
Exit Gentleman 1.
Now, John, I can assure thee, it much troubles me, yea, more than I can suddenly express, that those words which thou didst speak in jest should have in them so great a secret hid, that the dull ass's pate could understand. Alas, he thought 'twas but some common thing that thou dost harp upon. But man that have discerning judgment better do know how to construe an enigma than those brains that exercise themselves in mean affairs. But to leave him and come unto those things which I thought had in them some secret meaning, prithee unfold what thou dost understand when thou didst talk of Glausamond and the princess, as in a line, as 'twere.
Why, nothing, but that I said Glausamond did want a wife, and she a husband, and that if you were young and had a young wife, and he old and had an old wife, and the princess married to a young husband, that you might get boys. The princess, if she would, might be pleased, and Glausamond so fully satisfied that the ladies of the court might be in quiet by him.
I never heard him taxed with such a fault.
You may do.
Nor do I think him guilty of that crime. His maiden looks cannot seem innocent, his heart being foul within. But what's the cause should make thee to suspect him?
You did promise that if I told you truth, you would bestow anything on me that I would demand. And upon that condition, I'm content to tell you what I know, yea, and perhaps a little more.
Speak out, I promise thee, whate'er it be, I will perform it, though I pawn my crown.
Why, I'll desire no more, but good my liege, let me have my patent signed presently, for when I have revealed what I know, you'll be so angry you forget your word.
What an unreasonable knave thou art, to ask thy hire before thou dost thy work. Is thy patent here?
It is, my liege, at hand, quoth the pick-purse.
All my life labour's lost if this be wanting. Read it.
Gentleman 2 reads the patent.
Know all men by those presents that the king's most excellent majesty, tendering the weak and sick estate of his most loyal subject, Sir John Sipsack of Holdbelly Hall, has given and granted by these presents doth give and grant unto the said Sir John all his impost or custom of Malagos sacks, and all other sweet and luscious wines, and being informed by some physicians that this is the only wholesome drink for the said Sir John's constitution, and fearing lest the impost will not suffice, he doth by those presents strictly charge and command all vintners, drawers, and traders in that profession that whensoever the said Sir John shall send for any sack, especially Canary or Malago, that they forthwith send him of the best for 2d a quart, all decrees of their company or their own commodities notwithstanding.
Thy name may well be Sipsack. Come, I'll sign it.
The king signs it and seals it.
I deliver it as my deed to thy use.
To nobody use else, I beseech you.
To nobody else. Oh, with thy tale now, and let the truth thou speakest not only be the truth, but all the truth. Do not conceal aught in thy breast that may be hurtful unto me or to the state. So shalt thou truly please the king thy master. Believe me, if I find thou hast kept back a little of the truth, thou hast better fight with a lion naked than come in my sight.
Then, as I love you, thus it is, my liege. The other night, as Glausamond went by through the presence and did his honour make to our fair princess, she asked him if he were willing to go this journey. He replied, "Yes, madam, if it please you and the king." "Alas," says she, "'tis pity only thou shouldst be picked out to undergo the pains and hazard which a traveller endures. Thy dainty limbs should rather be employed in seeking of thyself a beauteous bride. Farewell, dear lord. I hope some business may make thee return ere thou hast gone halfway." These were her words, as I do honour you.
Directly these?
Just these, I think I do not miss an accent.
Thou art full of something which I wish thy wanted. Questionless, she loves him. And heaven knows what love, time and occasion can effect. I must use all my care that this young man may not have time nor leave to visit her. I'll scant him of his opportunity. Though I cannot abridge him of her love, I'll do the best I can to extenuate it. Carry thyself fair and even, else thou'st like to have a deadly blow of my sword strike.
And exeunt, end of act. And what an interesting act that was, because we've got this sort of slightly foolish gentleman number two who's doing silly things, but you know what? He knows his business. You know, he knows stuff. What's going on? He's got a story to tell, and he goes to the king and says, "Look, I would like you to sign in absolutely on the dotted line before I tell you anything, so that you don't rescind when you're angry with me." And you know, gentleman two, it's not a bad deal. I feel. I mean, he's a funny, silly guy, but also, I'm not sure he's a nice person. You know, I mean, technically his loyalty is to the king, but there's something quite slippery about what he's doing here, and that's really interesting. I'm uncertain about that letter, I say, whether he's just reading that or whether could they semi-refer to what's... Because he's referring to what he was saying earlier. I don't know whether he's referring to anything in whatever the letter was. But the king could have figured all this out anyway from the first opening of the scene when he's talking about going, yeah, he was with Lord Glausamond. I mean, it's like he's sort of telling him what he already knows, but he just doesn't want to think it, I suppose. So yeah, on first glance, I'm going, this scene is a bit silly and it's sort of a bit... Do we need all of this stuff? But actually, again, it's sort of speaking to the... There's an undercurrent in this court that actually isn't very healthy. And I quite like that.
Maybe they were famous comedic actors, you know, like they were famous clowns. And so the audience wanted want plenty of time, stage time with them.
Well, it's a big question. I'm not certain about Newdigate whether he was a professional writer or whether he was writing for a smaller stage, as it were. My instinct is that he's writing for not for the professional stage, but I don't know. He seems more like a fan, and maybe is he? I don't know. He's definitely in a work. He knows people. He knows writers. He does. He is. He's out and about. But I don't know. I don't know who he's writing for. But it's a good question. He's obviously writing that for someone who can do that kind of part. In his head, at least.
Meanwhile, I think the king should either be eating a whole pheasant or something, and generally dribbling, and just I don't know how you get through that without going. Just get on with it.
I suppose he keeps him about because he does find him moderately amusing. But yeah, it's also I just love the way he sends gent number one going, could you just find out whether the person I sent to go abroad has actually left the fucking country? It's just like, yeah, I heard he made it to the port, but he hasn't got much further than that. It's like he's choosing He's choosing what colour sails he wants on his boat, and it's just like he's not got very far. Eric.
I was gonna say that it's interesting how he makes sure that to get like Gentleman 2, aka John, alone. Because it kind of means that he can't like Gentleman 2 can't call on any witnesses or like anything. Like not so much in case he's murdered or something, but more sort of there's no sort of mitigating circumstance. He really doesn't want to piss off the king. And you can kind of see how in his head, John is thinking, well, aka Gentleman 2, is thinking, well, they're both young. They love each other. Why not? Like, I mean, okay, they're happy. They might be happier. And you can kind of see him thinking that, but then, yeah, I don't know. I don't think he fully intends to be like throwing Glausamond to the lines, to the piranha.
Well, I don't know. I think he really is.
Yeah,
He's really throwing him under the bus here.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm like, there's a part of me going. He's kind of. It depends how you play it. Like, he can either be fully like malicious, or he can be sort of. Well, I thought this was a good idea because he's actually interested in your daughter. I don't know. It's a fine line to strike, I think, because otherwise, I mean, he does start with like, okay, if you're gonna be angry about this, I'm gonna get you to sign first, and then.
He's sensible. He's sensible. Kings change their mind. I mean, the king could probably just rescind it with a heartbeat, but he got this. He got it signed, and he can get very, very, very drunk whenever he wants. Right, Act 4. About halfway through the text now. Music between acts. Enter Glausamond and Gentleman number 1.
The king commanded me I should with speed go to the haven where the ship doth ride, that is bound for your voyage. See if you were yet aboard, and if I found you not, I should forthwith repair unto your lodging, there to make known on his pleasure unto you, which is thus. He thinks you are too slow and sluggish in performing his edicts.
Enter the princess and her woman.
I shall be slower than he imagines too.
What, Glausamond? I thought by this time you had been 10 leagues from land. Your nimble ship, they say, sails faster than any boat in the harbour.
Ay, madam, when she hath lading to go in her.
Trust me, she's richly fraught when you are in her.
I would you thought so, madam. I'd stay at home.
Dost thou fear drowning, man?
No, madam, but yet I shall be seasick.
Alas, weak stomach, I pity thy disease. Take this rod in thine hand, and walk to the river that runs by the hill whereon the castle stands, and if with this thou chance to catch a fish, send it to me. It shall be my prime dish. The reason why I bid thee do thus much is but to have thee try how thou canst spare the vapours of the water. And no question if thou canst but go hither with this rod, fish there an hour or two, and then return, and not to be moved at all, thou'rt strong enough to go to sea. Farewell, if that there be any fish like myself caught, bring it to me.
Exit princess and her woman.
'Tis short and pithy. Would I might have such a pilot to steer the ship that I desire to sail in.
You do not tell me what answer I shall return the king.
You see, I had other business. Such a voice commands from me far more strict attendance than thy horse ululating. But in short, bear back this message and inform the king I do desire him give me leave to stay until the spring grow on, and longer days afford more time for me to do his business.
Is that all?
Yes.
Is this right answer to return the king?
And thou is slighted as it if thou deliver it too. If not, say nothing if thou wilt.
You're too pragmatical, Glausamond. You must not be so predominant.
You shall not teach me, sir, what to be and what not. Though I'm
Exit
sorry
gentleman
I
at
said-
this point, of course. Sorry.
Yeah,
never mind.
that would have been awkward. You shall not teach me, sir, what to be and what not, though I'm sorry I sent the king such word. Who would have thought a fool with his tautologies could have detained me from a meditation which I so inly long for? O virtuous queen, whose beauty and whose priceless eminence, were my weak tongue but able to express them, may well be said to go as far beyond all other women's in extremities of true perfection, as ere Diana did exceed the chasteness of a common whore. Could but thy worth bear a comparison, and not be therewith darkened? Darkened? How? Can a dim vapor blind the light of the sun? Or can an earthly simile or smile, otherwise obscure that form that's all celestial? Hence, black disgrace! I kick thee and thy spite, if thou attempt to wrong my princess. Her endeared name spurs at salt envy, and bids it for shame go exercise itself upon a subject that may be like itself. Birds of a feather, they say, do always suit the best together. O thou, the wonder of my fainting heart, I fly to thee for comfort. And if thou hast a piece of that sword left which wounded me, send it me of a token. If it be sharp, there is no doubt that it will lance the sore and make corruption vanish, or by the touch cure like Achilles' sword. I may find somewhat that may, perhaps in this, give me ease. It needs must ease me, since it was her gift. This piece is like itself straight and upright. Pardon, dread princess, that my presumption liken thee to a brittle king. I'll do thee right hereafter, noble dame. What's this tied so fast? I'll open it.
And yes, within the rod there is a paper. Unties the paper and opens it and reads.
Was not put here for nothing. Loved Glausamond, since opportunity I could by no means get, whereby I might disclose the affection which my heart bears you, I thought it not amiss thus covertly to entreat your presence this night in my chamber. And only do entreat, love ne'er commanded, except it were by sweet and mild persuasions. I thought good to send this dumb messenger, which thou mightst understand, yet none perceive besides thyself. Come, and I'll warrant thee thou shalt confess thy labor is not lost. And though you saw'st myself delivered this with mine own hands to thee, yet, lest some scruple might haply arise by misconstruction, I have subscribed my name with mine own hand, which is a favor if it be truly scanned. Yet this I did because I know that thou art noble, and esteem'st the lady's vows. Be confident I will be ever thine, if thou wilt promise to be solely mine. Witness thy princess and thy love, Fidelia. I come, dear lady, with a swifter course than ships do sail blown with a prosperous wind. He's dull that stays when such an angel calls, and doth invite him with so fair a summons. He merits rather misery than joy that esteems such a favor as a toy.
Exit Glausamond. Yes, the princess just happens to walk by and, oh, go fishing. Take this rod and go fishing. Go fish. And yeah, flirty coded messages. And oh look, inside this droid there is a message from the princess. And it's the plans for the Death Star. No, it's a route to an assignation that can be arranged. I did love the little exchange with Gentleman One, who's just left. He comes on and says, "Right, now I've asked for an update from the king," and then I'll just ignore him and talk to the princess for a bit. He's waiting. It's just, no, I'm not going yet. It's just, is this all? You want me to take this back to the king? I liked that. I'm really enjoying this. It's got some bounce to it. It's quite interesting. I mean, it's all going to end very unhappily, but It's a shame because it's quite interesting. Sue.
The amount of times favours are mentioned. Lisa, is this planting something important, or is it just that this signed letter will be hot? I mean, it's really it's legal. They talk about favours, all the different kind of forms of favour. Do you know what I'm talking about? Could you explain them to me? I think you know what they are.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I have no claim to real authority on this, but in a sort of medieval sense, in a sort of courtly love sense, and I think Glausamond is very much your courtly lover, and Fidelia if is playing the role of courtly lady, although she's rather more hot to trot than these ladies usually are.
Mm.
Uh, anyway, um, to show her esteem or her choice of a lover, a lady would bestow a favor which was basically a token, a nice token, a memento, maybe something the beloved could wear. It might be given in secret so that only the two lovers would know if the beloved wore it. Just it's sort of a nice little token that signifies love.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And it's the first prop that's been described. And I just think it's heavenly. Those things are very beautiful when you find them in museums and things, and you see these orbs and, things that open up and everything. It's absolutely great. And that's the first prop mentioned, isn't it? Apart from the
beyond
ship.
generic letters and things like that. Yeah, this is a first substantial object.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a practical prop. It's got to be a prop, the rod that breaks, and so you find the message within. So someone's got to devise that, and that's the version. That's the part baked into the story. But I really like the fact that the princess really has agency here. She's really working this through. She's come up with the plan to get him the message that nobody else knows about, except she hasn't written burn this after receiving it, because there's nothing like having a love letter as an incriminating piece of evidence against you. I'm not saying that's where this is going, but just thinking ahead here. Liza.
I have to say, I like the fishing metaphor, and I like that in Tancred and Gismund, she just passes him a cane while they're dancing, and there's not much rationale. Whereas in this one, it's a fishing rod, and he's by the sea, and he's about to, so the prop makes much more sense here. Whereas in the last version, it seemed kind of random.
And that's something that sometimes happens when stories get translated to the stage. Things that make perfect sense in a book, or sometimes things that aren't properly fleshed out in a book, either turn weird or have to be given reasons in a play. And it's I don't know whether in the original story that there is a reason given. I suspect. I don't know that this is the reason given, so I suspect it may be the playwrights actually found a reason for the rod, and that's actually quite nice. I could be wrong on that point. We will go back to the source at some point, because we keep doing this damn story. Bit of Boccaccio. Eric.
Yeah, no, I was just intrigued by the fishing bit, because it actually like well, the bit about like just let me know if you catch any fish that is like yourself. It's kind of like, well, you're something cute to look at, sort of line. But also I like that's her exit line. So she kind of goes, okay, take this, do the thing, and then she goes, any fish like yourself caught, bring it me. And then she leaves, which is kind of like the perfect mic drop line. And
there's little ambiguity in her language here, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Act 5 is a chunky act. It has 2 scenes. It's probably going to get dark, people. Act 5, Scene 1, music. Enter the princess as in her chamber with her waiting woman.
The hour is past in which I thought to see the face of him I love. Dear Glausamond, if any hazard thou hast undergone in coming to thy love, bear it a while, and be not thou dismayed at all therewith. Pleasures are sweetest that are hardly got. The stately palace of the goddess Virtue is seated on the top of a steep hill, where not a sluggish nor thick-minded man is able to approach. Thou art none of these. I hear thee come. Thy true fidelity maketh me believe that thou canst not forget, but dost make haste with earnest steps to see that princess which so inwardly loves thee.
One knocks. Who's there?
A servant to the princess, Glausamond.
Let him come in, and you go your ways.
Exit woman. Enter Glausamond, and the princess meets him and speaks.
With a more glad aspect I look on thee than e'er did bridegroom on his longed-for wife. Welcome, my best beloved, if epithets there be that can more please thee, let me know. I'll not be dainty to bestow it on thee. Thou art welcome to this place, my Glausamond.
Glausamond kneels down and kisses her hand.
Nay, go a little higher if you like.
It is a most presumptuous crime to be more bold than fit with royal majesty.
'Tis fit to be bold when thy princess bids. A lady once desired to kiss her love and told him so, whereat the man shrunk back.
Pardon me, madam, if I be bold, as to come forward and by your permission do yet which he, it seemed, did leave undone.
Kisses her.
That was but a story that I told you.
And I showed your grace the meaning on it.
Do you begin to apprehend?
I do, and with so great a zeal of heart do tender my homage first, and then my love to you, that did your person lay aside your greatness, and I could think that you were not the princess, I durst presume to tell you I were he you have some interest in, nor he in you.
I do desire to have more part in thee than in the prince which thou art going to, and give this in earnest.
Gives him a ring.
Come, sit down here. And if thou dost remember that song which once did please me, let me hear. Yet sing but softly, lest some listening ear should chance to spoil our music.
Virtue, beauty, goodness strove how to teach a man to love. Virtue taught him and thus said, Love thou a well-disposed maid. Beauty said, Love one is fair, and then thou ne'er canst want an heir. But goodness said, I wish thee love, such a one as I approve, such a body, such a mind, and yet the princess you may find.
Princess falls asleep.
She falls asleep to hear her worth commended. Virtue did ever so. Glausamond, if thou darest be so bold, still but one kiss from those soft lips, which even with the touch will make me live above the years of Nestor.
Kisses her.
Such a kiss as this is doth far exceed in relish all the nectar Jove e'er tasted.
Kisses again. Just a note here, there is quite a lengthy sort of deleted attempt at the scene that's about to happen with things in slightly different orders, lots of different words. We may come to some of the deleted material at a future session. But just to say, at this point, kisses again. And the princess?
I could sleep evermore or fain to sleep if I might have such real dreams to please me. Did those whose flinty hearts have not been hit with the smart touches of blind Cupid's quiver, but once conceive or feel what happiness it is to be in love, they'd weep and mourn and sob and sigh to think those days are past in which they might have served their prentice age in Venus' school.
Enter the king with the two gentlemen.
Ye are very merry, daughter. And thou to our bold, proud Glausamond, I'll take an order that your sauciness shall have a filter copesmate than my daughter. O frailty, now I find thou art the power that most commands a brittle womanhood.
Be not offended, sir. What was done here, innocence itself could not find fault with.
I can scarce call thee daughter, nor thee subject. He is a traitor, and thou art a whore.
Humbly I beg, sir, that your will be performed on me, yea, with the utmost rigor, so my dear princess' honour may be safe, as I have hope with heaven no other thing was done worse than you see.
Let your censure be upon our merit, and not a wrong end set. You'll soon conceive we have like filial subjects owed allegiance.
That you two burning in hot desire, and as it seems, which breaks my heart to think of, inflamed with either's lust, should be together and not act wickedness, make me believe the sea is on a fire, if this be true.
'Tis hard to alter your imagination, but honoured father, let me never have a look of favour from you if there were anything done, but only Glausamond did sing a song. If you doubt of this, put him and me both to fire ordeal.
And please your grace, do not find fault with this. A good song is worth much to a young lady when she hath need on't, and will no question do her more good than hurt if it be well sung.
Hold thy tongue now. Thy jests are out of season. I am in another mood. Grief is the diet that I must now feed on. Unstable maid, canst thou feign such obedience and such love, and then prove false both to thyself and father? O rash young man, that runs unto thy end as 'twere with haste, couldst thou not stay until the destinies have given thee leave to die? Now I perceive the cause that made thee slow to thy go-to journey, but thou wilt wish hadst gone before thou hast taken thy last message with thee. Glausamond, go unto execution. But that I will not stain my princely hands, nor foul my sword in such a peasant's blood. I'll do the deed myself, and sheath this blade, the edge whereof 'tis smooth to kill a slave. In the heart's blood, but royal majesty would be disgraced to take so poor a revenge. The fates will not so much disparage me as make my hangman to an unthankful wench. Thou shalt have meaner executioners. Is the lieutenant of the castle there?
And enter Lieutenant. I am ready, and please your majesty.
Call in some that may aid you, and by their assistance bring Glausamond in at the iron gate. Hence none return alive, and this shall be a full reward for all his villainy.
Come in, officers, you are ready, and calls in 2 guards with halberds.
Take Glausamond unto your charge, and when one night is past, let him be executed. Yet not in that base sort that felons die. I'll give him leave to have a noble end. He shall die like a lord. His amorous head shall be cut off, and so he'll soon be dead.
Give me leave, great king, once to speak to you before I breathe my last. Did not white innocence live in my breast, I'd blush and so be silent. Were my soul clogged with guilt of this offence, I'd hang my head and not implore your mercy. But since I'm free, yet you will have me die, I'll tell you murder if it's not majesty.
Have him away and perform what I say. Come, you must stay no longer.
I'm satisfied. Go on.
Exit Glausamond, lieutenant, and guards.
Couldst thou not have contained yourself, Fidelia, that's been a queen, and been with virtue crowned, but women's slippery tricks too oft do lose that crown by kicking chastity deserves thou far more fit to be a nun than a queen. Those women that have lost their good report so far that no man dare adventure on them are often sent to be collegates and sisters of that order. I may be bold to place your name amongst them, for by your lightness you have got a name, but yet have lost your credit. If you have mind to be a friar's laundress, let me know. Suddenly you shall be transported.
Give me your pardon yet before you go, although I have displeased you.
Exit the king, princess, and 2 gentlemen, the princess hanging upon the king. Okay, that escalated fast. I mean, the injustice of it all, when it's basically he's kissed her, and for that matter, it's technically a non-consensual kiss. She was asleep at the time. So she's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. I mean, there's plenty of intent before that, etc., etc. But as an escalation from something so innocent, really, in that situation, they've just met up, they've kissed a bit, and then they sing a song. He sings a song and she falls asleep, and then the king just goes postal. Susan.
No, Robert, no. Fathers at the beginning that are obsessed with their daughters. Oh no. When they actually see in front of their eyes that boy kiss their daughter for the first time. Am I right, others here? There's they go apeshit. They've lost their position with the daughter. I'm sorry, I think it's perfectly reasonable. And they have an absolute frothing at the mouth moment, because they're no longer the males.
It's psychologically accurate. I'm not saying it's reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, well, it never is.
It's because it's a very effective scene in various ways. The way he goes, and they're trying to. It's interesting. The gentlemen don't really say anything. I mean, there's potentially some lines that could be given to them. There are a couple of ambiguous line attributions, but it's like, gentleman number 2 helped set all this up. Where's your comedy jinx now, eh? What are you doing?
He tries to lighten the mood, and he absolutely fails to lighten the mood, and he's pretty lucky that the king does not order him beheaded too.
Yeah, it has to be said, he's not a good look, really, is it, Eric?
I do like to think that the king kind of goes, gentleman 2 makes his joke about, yes, young women enjoy a little song before bed or whatever, and then the king sort of goes, be quiet, I will deal with you later, or something like that. It's that kind of moment of like death stare.
I wonder if we're ever going to see Gentleman 2 after this. Presumably, he's either dead or dead drunk.
Well, drowned
or doubling with someone else.
Yeah, I was going to, we could go all Clarence on him, can't we? Okay.
God, after seeing all those heads, Caravaggio's heads on the plate. Oh dear.
Yes.
I haven't got over that yet.
The Italian setting for this feels as that's the basis of the story.
Closer.
It fits what's going on here within that lot. You could much more so, I think, from the earlier version than from this one, that Caravaggio would paint this story. And for all I know, he did.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't put it past him. Okay, we have one more scene to go. It doesn't hang around, this one. Act 5, what we're calling Act 5, Scene 2. I say there are no actual act or scene divisions. Enter 2 guards, bringing in a scaffold for execution. Sorry, just arranging my script. And Glausamond had kissed Peg or Deb now. He might have, perhaps, had worn out another hat. But now his hat and feather is like to wear out his head. It's a painful thing that one should lose his head for loving his lady.
He must not lose his head for loving her, but for loving her too hard.
Too hard? How's that?
Well, he kissed the princess, and the king heard on't.
Aye, but the king was too hard for him.
Come, let's about our business.
Come then.
It will ne'er stand here.
Oh, I warrant too it will stand longer here than his head will stand on his shoulders. Workmen setting up execution posts. Entered first gentleman and Glausamond to execution.
Is the place you're like to leave your head at?
I am sorry for it, since I have not deserved it. If I had merited this kind of death, which I protest I have not, I should die as willingly as man ever expired. To lose my life for that I never did, although I yield I have deserved death, grateth against weak nature, and is a weight too heavy far for innocence to bear.
Forbear, good Glausamond, and die quietly. It will not profit thee to exclaim on fate. That which the kings hath said we must perform. Therefore believe I will not show thee favour, and so I venture to gain his displeasure.
'Tis easier to triumph on misery. A mouse's strength throws down a falling tree, though it be a cedar. Yea, the meanest creature, even the mole, whose low degree is confined to work in earth so deep that she is doomed to see the light of the sun upon the surface with her sharp snout, will quickly ruinate the castle wall that is before declining. Thou art this mole, and now darest tread upon my fortune's falling, and their real disaster. I do forgive thee, since I know right well I'm going to heaven where envy doth dwell. Doth not dwell, sorry. My strike dismal sword. Never did any die that was faulty with less guilt than I.
And Glausamond is, we can infer, beheaded at this point.
Carry the body hence and open it. When you have done, take out the heart, which yet doth pent within it, and as the king directed, put it in the golden cup. Oh no, not that. In that he commanded, and bring it hither.
Exit guards. Yes, Greg, you know this story. You know where it's going. You don't act surprised.
Yeah, I didn't expect this in the end.
Exit guards with body.
George, will be sad news when I shall give the princess such token. You that do feed on love and think it is for youthful palates the best nutriment, be ruled by me. Make choice of a mistress, if you will needs have one, whose place and calling may not surpass your own in dignity. So there will be an equal correspondency. I love go on by unanimity.
Enter the princess and her woman to him.
You that were sent to be the instrument of his untimely death, whose basest deeds do far exceed the best prayer thou e'er madest, hast thou performed the execution?
Yea, good madam.
When did he die?
Some hour ago.
Oh, bloody wretch! Oh, most unthankful devil! Thou mightst have kept him in some secret place until the king's displeasure had been past. Thou art a true time-server. Prithee, kill me.
Madam, if I had known you would have chid me for executing what the king enjoined, I would have made some stay. Since he's dead, I hope you will not. I hope you will not any way tax me.
Enter one with the cup and heart.
What, sirrah? Have you brought a cup that one might drink of once and drinking die?
Madam, he hath brought that which I must give to your own hands, although you check me for it. Within this golden cup remains the heart of Glausamond, which the king, your father, hath sent you of a token, and bid me tell you in what mood whatsoever I should find you.
Gives her the cup.
I thank you and him. Would your heart lay by it? Return my duty to my father. Tell him his token's welcome, and in full requital of such a favour done me, I'll drink his health. Wench, reach my cabinet.
Woman reacheth it. Princess opens it, finds a letter, reads superscription.
To my most honoured and endeared princess, your honourer and true servant Glausamond presents his service. Thy hand wrote virgin lines, and thy tongue spake just as thy hand wrote, and all thy life was but a journey in a virtuous path. Were I so good as thou wert, I would wish to live on earth still, that I might imitate thy rare perfections. But I am not worthy.
She reaches the bottle and speaks.
Come, thou dissolver of all cares and grief, enter that breast which so doth long to feel thee. Please her that hath displeased all but him whose innocence did make him lose his life. Send me but quickly to him. I'll name thee a learned physician curing misery.
She puts it into the cup and drinks.
Here's a draught to him that dares but pledge me. The cup's too little.
She drinks.
Since I have drunk, and that is the last that my decaying palates like to taste. At my request, go tell the king I crave that Glausamond and I may have one grave, and for he showed himself a constant lover, tell him I beg one urn us both may cover. Afford this kindness to an half-dead maid, I'll be beholden to you. I told you I was made of Caesar's mould.
Gentleman 1.
Madam, I shall.
Exit Gentleman 1.
Now I'll dry thy tears. Come, dear heart, who didst lose thy blood and life, for no fault but for being too good. Oh, 'tis a hard and most unequal thing that innocence should die to please the king. Yet thou wert such a martyr, my heart come forth. I'll lay thee in a softer sepulchre, and though it be not so rich, yet 'tis more warm. But first I must wrap thee in this white cloth, whose snowy whiteness is like thy master free from any stain. Then next in this black cloth, whose sable hue shows that a mourning hand did put it o'er thee, and now go to thy centre.
She puts it in her breast.
Never woman was with a live man and all his lineaments so truly pleased as this poor, cold, dead heart doth comfort me by its so near abiding. Lie close to me, thou art a welcome guest. I'll go to thy master and there rest. Though it be a solemn meeting, yet will be honour to him and ease of mind.
She dies. Waiting woman cries, Madam, mistress, princess, lady. Enter the king with the 2 gentlemen.
What cry is this we hear?
I told you, sir, I thought you would come too late.
Is she dead?
He rubs her.
She begins to be stiff, sir.
She was in a manner of dead before I left her.
Dear daughter, if thou hast any sense of what I speak, though on earth thou hadst so strict a doom, yet patience oft times gains by martyrdom, or apprehension of the tears I shed. Speak to thy grieving aged weeping father. Lift but one finger up. She's dead and cannot. This is a day wherein mishaps a victor. I was a king until this dismal hour, but now I'm slave to hellish misery. 'Tis fit I should be, since I did deserve it. Had I gin leave, that youthful appetite might have enjoyed itself in such a short sort as did agree with a noble decency. I had been happy, and those 2 dead alive. They wished no more. Their moderation was so reserved, fearful of ill doing, that they chose rather to undergo that task which to weak natures harsh and terrible, even death itself, than any way to essay to gather pleasures from a sinful tree. Royal, noble and good, I saw them only kiss. And what's in that? Enough to send me to hell. Take in my daughter's body and let it have a fit observance for so great a princess until I come, which shall be presently. And then I'll see the rites performed myself, could I make them revive whose death I caused. I'd kiss the ground and creep upon my knees to lick the dust of it as if it were the spirit of some most precious cordial. But 'tis in vain to wish for that which cannot come again. Then go thy way, poor king, and provide store of blacks, such martyrs as never were before. But sure I am, never did such a pair that were so good, so innocent, so fair.
And we get our epilogue to close the tale.
Night is the time wherein a tragedy, dismal as this, may aptly crave your eye. Would deign to look on it, did the theme but please. An afternoon were not unfit to ease your patience of this burden. since the matter nor form can give delight, unless they flatter the understanders. We are confident it has as it deserves, yet cause 'twas meant only to please the good. And yet the play be wholly worthless, give us leave to say. The fools do frown, and others laugh the while. The ignorance of the first makes us to smile.
And they all lived happily ever after. Okay. I'm trying to remember from the previous versions of this. I don't remember a wrapping up of the heart and clutching it to her breast. That's an interesting addition. I don't think that was there in the earlier ones. So that's in it. There's some. Again, I don't know if that goes back to the source, but that adds a new level of horror to this scene. That's very interesting. Greg.
I mean, it's still shocking, that scene. I know it was. I think because this one is more, to me, is more comedic in a lot of ways earlier on. There's a sort of sense of the gentleman being a little bit of a funny duo, and there isn't so much of that horror coming through. I suddenly get that last couple of scenes, and you are thrown right into that. And the king, we pretty much, I think every version ends with the king feeling, being ultimately sorry for what he's done. But that heart in the cup still has the power to shock.
Yeah,
there's some. It's
interesting because you're right. The earlier version is dark and tragic from the off. I mean, it starts off with supernatural forces making human lives horrible. Here, what we have are people who are perfectly happy and fine, who have perfectly reasonable, especially within the time standpoint of, princess needs to find a husband, what women are like, blah, 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 everything's sort of fine. And then it slowly just slides out of control, and the forces that are underneath everything just sort of come out, and kings are violent controllers of a kingdom. They use violence all the time. And suddenly we get this sort of rather banality of evil element when these guards come on and go, well, if he'd kissed somebody lower status, he would have been able to wear a hat today. Boom, boom. Shall we do the herd hard jokes, pun stuff? Oh, yeah. Shall we get on with the job? Yes, thank you. And he's killed on stage, which is a genuinely, legitimately difficult thing to do. If we've interpreted beheading correctly as well, it seems like it's. But he could be hanged, I suppose. But it's there's a scaffold. They're setting up a thing to getting killed, and it's like, oh, that won't last. It only needs to last 5 minutes, mate. But the darkness creeps in, and it's sort of always there if you look at the underlying assumptions of what they're saying at the very beginning. At the very beginning, we have all these talking about, women and power, and it's all there. It's all there from the very off, actually. It's just whether that comes out. Other thoughts? I've got lots of thoughts. Eric?
Somehow I think this version is creepier because it doesn't do that. Like, you don't have the supernatural forces, which, like, sort of, it's almost like the sort of Euripides version of all the tragedies, where you have, like, complete, sort of humans acting on other humans. You don't have any, like, sort of praises to the gods or sort of any gods interfering. Like, there's no Deus Ex Machina or anything. Whereas, and this is kind of the 17th century version of that, where it's kind of like, somehow, because it's so stripped back, it's even more horrifying when you get to the sort of bit about the blood and the murder and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not a long play. It's over an hour, but it's not much over an hour. And a lot of it, I think, moves quite quickly. And you're right. There is no supernatural get-out clause here. There are no people. There are no creatures driving people mad. They do their own stuff, and it's and that's what does them in. Other thoughts? we're drifting towards final thoughts. But Susan.
Sorry, just one more thing before I go. Oh, God, what was it? Oh, yes. I didn't understand the epilogue at all. It's impenetrable.
The scansion was a bit slippery. I think it's.
But anyway, just.
It's about the time of day you're watching the show. Is part of it. I think it's broadly speaking, if you're intelligent, you understood it and enjoyed it, and if you're not, you probably didn't. Kind of logic. Is that what's going on at the end?
The punctuation's a little wonky, and that doesn't aid comprehension.
No, it really doesn't have any meaningful punctuation.
There shouldn't be a comma after I.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Well, this is an ongoing editorial process. I'm trying to find I. My absolute crave right.
Yeah. My last thought. Are we on final thoughts yet, Rob?
I think we can go into final thoughts. I think we've the terrible things happened in Act 5. Sad face lol. Liza, yes, final thought.
Yes. Okay. I actually would probably rather see this than Tancred and Gismunda, because it has what the other one doesn't have, which is pace. Like, Tancred and Gismunda has the more or less the same plot, except virtually none of the plot occurs on stage and people just talk about it in these interminable goddamn monologues, only very slightly redeemed by Vampire Cupid at the start and the Fury Megara halfway through. And yeah, the monologues, there's some good writing in them, but oh my God, they go on. Whereas this, the writing is maybe, I don't know, it's probably unfair to compare it, but this, it bounces along. We read it in one session. That's about all the time I can stand to spend with a story like this.
Well, I think the personal taste things to go into that. If you're into your neoclassical tragedy, they have a certain weight and horror to them in a very different way to what this play is doing. They are doing very different jobs of work. And you're right. This is a very interesting world, and I'd quite like to ask the author to go and write a little bit more, because I'd quite like to know more about the court. I'd like to know more about the two gentlemen. I'd like them to have names.
Luckily, the two gentlemen. Again, this has what Tancred and Gismunda doesn't have, which is comedy. Like, some characters who have a sense of how ridiculous everything is.
Yes, but again, if that's a personal taste thing as opposed to inherently bad or good. I was just saying the thing about it would be nice to get the author to go back and maybe give us a bit more. Luckily, he did, because we've got a B text which is twice as long, so we'll be able to find out whether longer equals better.
Does it have a different ending? Does Sir John Sipsack get everyone to calm down?
Well, because if not, you're just going to have to find out. The answer is basically no. No, the ending is pretty much exactly the same. But how we get there is do it different. Anyway, Susan, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Where's Mummy? Where is Mummy?
Yeah, I don't think
that's why it's also weirdly sort of, daddy and daughter obsessed.
Yeah, it's a very masculine court. And that's probably the problem.
I want more women.
But if there were women, then the ending wouldn't have happened. And you could argue the point of the play is there aren't any women, apart from the princess. Eric, any final thoughts?
I'm trying to remember in which version we had, because I do like this version quite a bit, just because, we managed to read it one session. It's quite dramatic from the get-go, and you kind of have this thing of, it keeps leading you on in a way that the other ones don't. The other ones do the whole neoclassical tragedy exposition stuff. But the other ones also have, I seem to remember, there's an aunt trying to convince Gismunda to stay alive and all that stuff.
Yes.
Whereas you don't have that in this. This is just she decides from the get-go it's either him or death. And she actually goes through with it, which is even more crazy. I mean, crazy here being they're not teens, we hope.
And in the earlier versions, you all the courtiers have names, and they sort of have a slightly more expanded sense of how they fit within the social hierarchy. They sort of fit together in slightly different ways. So the betrayal at the end is a betrayal. It's not gentleman one is just being a bit of a git. It's it's a household servant who's very clearly engaged and with the rest of the household. And I don't think they're as royal though in Tancred and Gismund. I think they're more upper echelons rather than king and princess. And also, the one of the problems with brevity is also you sort of get a slightly pathetic moments occasionally when it's like, come on, oh, dead, off. And it's like you need a little room to breathe sometimes around some of the lines that this version doesn't quite give you. It's perhaps it is perhaps unfair that I should maybe get a room who's never read Tancred and let them judge this play on its own merits, apart from Sue, who's our sort of token newbie to this universe. But actually, maybe we should shift the dynamic on that and actually have lots of people.
I feel I've been done out of cupids and sprites. And
don't worry.
I like the sound of those.
It will come round again. Vampire Cupid is fab. Desna, any final thoughts?
So like others, I've appreciated the characterization in this. I really like how straightforward Fidelia and Glausamond are in their affection for one another, and they kind of just, putting aside all the kind of sneaking around they have to do, they just kind of go for it, and I appreciate that. But I think I love the pace of it as well. But I do think that the brevity means that we're lacking some of the context, and I think it could be fleshed out a bit more, without losing too much of that pace. But the heart at the end, the wrapped up heart that she puts in her bodice, I think is ace, and I think that would be it would be kind of gory and horrific, but also such a powerful moment could be made of that as well. So yes,
there is that's my sort of Uber version of this play. I'm sort of trying to steal all the bits from the various ones I like, and
the heart must go in the Uber version. Yes,
it's kind of because it's business, and you only need to nick 4 or 5 lines for you to put it in, so it won't massively impact. If the writing style feels too different to the other versions. So yeah, there's something very intimate about it as well. It's not extra in that big over the top way. It's because it's sort of methodical about wrapping up the heart and then placing it. And you can really, and it's going to be really messy. Your quality of your blood work is going to be really shown at this point as well. Eric?
I feel also that in this version, Gismunda has a lot more agency than any other version that we've seen so far, which is quite awesome as well, because she's the one that makes the move. It's not like sort of, oh, I love this person and the other person loves me and I'll do, it's not a mutually stated affair. It grows during the play, which is kind of nice.
Yes, Fidelia in this version, but Gismund in the others. And in fact, the B text will rename everyone to be a bit more like the original as well. So it'll be a bit confusing and also less confusing. Anyway, I've very much enjoyed dancing through this text. There's a lot that could be played with it for all its brevity. I think this might get recorded quite soon. Do you know why? It's got a small cast and it's short. Do you want to know my artistic planning when I'm not doing plays voted for by patrons? It's straightforwardly what's the cheapest show to put on, and this play ticks a lot of boxes. So I'm always delighted to find that in play. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.